Welcome. Thank you for coming to SPAR's Beyond the Stats podcast, where we talk about statistics every month and give a little bit of an overview. I'm Jennifer Kabasic, SPAR's Communications Director, here with Chelsea Erickson to talk about May overview of Twin Cities housing market.
Excellent. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. The Twin Cities saw new listings, pending sales, inventory, and prices rise in May. Before we jump into some of the stats that we saw for May of this year, how would you describe today's overall market climate?
Well, I would describe it as, I'm calling it a recalibrated market. So where there's less frenzy and more strategy. Compared to the chaos of 21 and 22, there's more balance now. Sellers are showing up, but buyers are moving more deliberately. It's not slow, it's just smarter. Interest rates are still top of mind, but the serious buyers are adjusting and staying in the game. This market rewards preparation and precision, whether you're selling or you're buying.
Nice. I love the not slower, but smarter.
Yes.
Sellers have also been more active than buyers in 2025, or at least that's what we're seeing. Metro seller activity for May rose modestly by 0.6%, but for the year so far, it's up 5% year to date. Sellers continue to receive 100% of their list price on average, although obviously that varies slightly based on the type of home and the price point. A slightly less frantic market with more active buyers has pushed inventory back to closer to 2020 levels, which translates to buyers being more able to have a bit more breathing room for their searches and kind of find what works for them, what fits within what they're looking for in their budgets. Inventory levels in the metro were up 4.5% in May. Would you say this is reflective of the current experiences that you're having with your clients? And are they seeing ease right now? Are you seeing it as a realtor?
Well, absolutely. Clients are noticing that they kind of have a little bit more time these days to kind of think about their writing an offer or think about what their final decision is going to be. So we're seeing less bidding wars, mostly in the mid-tier price points. There are still bidding wars, sure. But buyers are able to walk through 3 or 4 homes, compare, and kind of make a move based on what really fits their budget and the amenities that they're looking for. So,
well, that's good news. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure it's kind of nice to be able to go and not feel like you have to stumble over your thoughts so quickly.
Right. Less anxiety. People can just kind of think it through a little bit more, and I think that helps.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about summer. What do you see this time of year, and do you notice different trends with the seasonal changes?
Well, we're in Minnesota, so we are seeing a lot more traffic this time of year, and people start, branching out March, April, May. We're seeing more interest in homes with the outdoor space. Of course, we're starting to warm up. Finished basements and flexible work from home spaces are popular right now. And even, that can even work in the wintertime too. But the seasonal curb appeal makes a difference. Homes simply show better this time of year than in February. But we are getting closer to those months where families want to start branching out and just not think about moving, but think about vacation. So July, August, we tend to see, historically, we see a lot of families kind of putting a pause on the home search button and spending some good quality time with the families and then coming back and re-engaging come September. But this year could always be different.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I know those water sports and vacations can call you when time allows, right?
Yep.
Obviously, you brought up some of them, but lots of factors go into decisions. And we know the economy shapes a lot of these decisions as well. Everything from, the big picture trades and tariffs that we've heard about the last few months, but also interest rates. And I know we've discussed this in previous podcasts, but many times buyers' decisions are focused on their monthly payments and what they can afford regardless of what those rates are. Right now, in today's or May's snapshot in time, the current all-in mortgage payments are averaging around $2,700 a month, which is up about $1,000 a month from just 4 years ago. So I'm curious, what decisions most impact the buyers that you're working with today from the kinds of homes they're seeking and potentially any concessions they're willing to make?
So I would definitely say that the number one driver is absolutely the monthly payment, like you were just quoting some numbers there. Whether the home is in the $400,000 to $700,000 price point, buyers are focused on what their monthly payment will be, not just the rate. So many are willing to skip the dream kitchen or go a little farther out geographically if that means staying under their threshold. But today's buyers are savvy and they want value, not just a deal. So energy efficiency, updated systems, layout matter more than granite counters sometimes. It's all about the getting a good value. You know, I just was printing off a report on a property that we're bringing to market, and my lender sent me some stats and details on what that monthly payment would be on that home. And that was a price point of about $470. Monthly payment all in with taxes and insurance was about $3,500. Okay. And those were for, 5% down, 3.5% down. So ultimately, the more money you have to put down, the lower your monthly payment would be. So sure, they can only charge you interest on the money you owe them.
Yeah.
I always think about that. Anyway.
That's a great point. We're also seeing that today's buyers tend to be more qualified and committed compared to the last few years. And obviously, every situation's unique. There also tends to be right now more move-up buyers in comparison to first-time buyers, and they're looking to roll their equity into that next home that meets their needs, whether it's multi-generational, accommodating their own families, or potentially aging parents. We're also seeing that the luxury market has been outperforming recently, and all these factors push prices higher. Overall, the metro median home price for May was up 2.6% to $395,000. And these sales took about 44 days on average to go under contract. I know every month we kind of look at what a quick glance is, and it's always a snapshot in time. For May, homes that took the longest to sell were located in Cologne, North Oaks, and Medina. Those that sold the fastest were in Arden Hills, Oak Grove, Robbinsdale, and Andover. And the most affordable areas were Somerset, South St. Paul, and Red Wing. Wayzata was the only notable city considered oversupplied, while Excelsior and Ham Lake were considered balanced. And a typical balanced market is about 4 to 6 months of supply. The most undersupplied areas were Circle Pines, Robbinsdale, Mounds View, and Champlin. So kind of want to do something a little bit different this month. We are reporting on May stats. We're in the month of June, which is also home ownership month, and it's celebrated every year. And the National Association of Realtors puts together some good information to kind of help raise awareness about the benefits of owning a home, the importance of home ownership, and just how every family deserves to have the opportunity to build generational wealth and make memories for years to come. So NAR also has produced a home buyers and sellers generational trends report, which they've been putting out since 2013. And I thought it might be kind of fun to look at some different generations, how they differ, how they're similar, and talk about trends. So I know you and I talked about this a little bit. I'd love to share some stats, and I'd love to hear some stories as we go through this.
Perfect.
All right, so let's start with Generation Z. These are buyers and sellers who are ages 18 to 25, and for the most part, just starting to enter home ownership and are typically buying older homes. 3% of this generation make up buyers, with 2% making up sellers. Many of the folks in this population are purchasing homes before getting married, before having kids. Have you worked with this group?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Our Gen Z buyers, oftentimes they're younger, like you mentioned. I just helped a 24-year-old close on a 1950s Rambler in Columbia Heights. And she's not married, works remote, and didn't really want to rent anymore because rent is kind of expensive too. So she had some gift funds for a down payment and was super strategic. What's wild is she's thinking long-term rental income already. So Gen Z, they're entering the game smarter than people think.
I love that. Mm-hmm. That's really great. All right, let's look at the millennial buyers.
Okay.
They make up 29% of home buyers. Many of these folks also first-time home buyers. And this study did a lot of breaking up the different generations. So looking at younger millennials, which are considered ages 26 to 34, they are considered the most educated group, with 78% holding a bachelor's degree or higher. And one of the things that is unique to this population is that they look for convenience to jobs. Commuting costs weigh heavily into their buying decisions. And I'm curious if this kind of is along the lines of what you've experienced as well.
Yes, absolutely. So millennials, they are planners. I worked with a couple recently, both in their 30s, both engineers. They wanted proximity to their offices in St. Paul. Walkability was important, and a solid basement for future expansion. It really wasn't about flash. It was about commute time and equity growth. I think millennials think about ROI from day one.
Anecdotally, I can share, I've seen that as well. My next door neighbors, their child in the same age group, moved home, saved a bunch of money, and just moved out about 2 weeks ago, but banked money over 4 years and put herself in a really good financial position toward homeownership. So it's fun to see.
It is.
All right, Generation X covers ages 45 to 59, which represents 24% of home buyers. And as of 2023, this group was the highest earning homeowner group with a median income of about $130,000. 66% of these buyers are married and have dual incomes, and this buyer population is considered one of the most racially and ethnically diverse populations of homebuyers, with 25% of that group identifying as a race other than white or Caucasian. So that was interesting.
Yes. You want me to share a story?
I would love to hear your story.
Okay. So Gen X buyers, is that, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's me. All right, Gen X is all about dual purpose homes. I did help a couple with they had a $900,000 budget. They were looking for space for their teenagers, and they had an aging parent that was going to live with them. So they were cash flush from a previous sale. We had sold their home. They had strong incomes and wanted multi-generational flexibility. So think in-law suites, finished basements, multiple offices. The idea here is to maximize every square foot.
Sure. I love homes that do that too.
I do too.
Very fun. All right, looking at baby boomers, which make up 53% of this largest share of sellers, and often do so to move closer to friends and family for retirement, or for the desire to either buy a smaller home or maybe move somewhere different, a location somewhere else in the U.S. Boomers ages 60 to 69 represent 26% of buyers, and boomers ages 70 to 78 represent 16% of buyers. So what have you seen with working with baby boomers?
Story time on that one. Okay.
A huge generation.
That is a big one, the baby boomers. So they are absolutely relocating with intention. So one of my clients just moved from Woodbury to Northfield to be closer to grandkids and to simplify. They sold a 2-story, bought a single level with no stairs, because they are done with the maintenance, and with so much equity built up from the sale of their home, they can make that lifestyle switch and do so without having a new mortgage. So the idea here is to live debt-free, or mortgage-free, and then they just have to pay the taxes and in the insurance. So keeping it simple.
Sure. Nice.
And less maintenance. And oftentimes that's inside of an HOA too, where all of that is taken care of for you.
Sure. And I recently saw my neighbors on the other side do the same thing. They moved so they could downsize a little bit, purchase their smaller home in all cash, and have a little bit less stress in their lives.
Less stress, absolutely. And then they can travel and play more too. So
Yeah, 100%. All right, the silent generation, people ages 79 to 99, tend to mostly move to downsize, and similarly to the baby boomers, often move closer to friends and family. And I know you have a story here too.
Oh, I do. So I've got a few of them, but it's hard to pick one. So we'll do, I've worked with a set of clients in their 80s who are downsizing but still sharp about the market. One couple moved into a senior co-op with built-in community support closer to their adults and their adult kids in the metro. Their main priorities were safety, simplicity, and access to health care or, help when they needed it.
Sure, and obviously important to have that. Mm-hmm. This trends report also polled people to ask the top 5 things or the things that buyers want mostly in working with realtors. And there's probably no surprises here, but the top 5, ticking them off, are helping find the right home, negotiating terms of a sale, helping with price negotiations, helping with paperwork, which I know there can be a lot of that, and determining what comparable homes we're selling for in set areas. Do you have other things you would add to that list or that you see differently?
Well, I would absolutely agree with that because, buyers and sellers have access to a lot of information from the internet, right? So there's a lot of information out there, and what they're really looking for is a strategist, not just a salesperson, but someone to help them avoid costly mistakes, help them to stay competitive and make smart offers. Sometimes there's some little niches out there that they don't think about. So that means knowing the market, negotiating like a pro, and navigating everything from inspections to finance. The paperwork isn't the hardest part. It's guiding the clients through one of the biggest decisions of their lives with confidence. And I often say, it's a very emotional business. So sometimes you got to think like a therapist. But helping people make smart decisions with confidence really helps to squash a lot of that emotion because they have that confidence with them too. So,
absolutely. And I love that you touch on that because the internet is readily available to all of us, right? Right at the fingertips. There's great information out there. There's also not great information out there from time to time. So I think really that partnering with a realtor, bring your questions, bring the information you have, but really work with those who have the expertise and can walk through the process. So, the home purchase is done error-free, whether it's being sold, whether it's being purchased, but just having that expert that really can be your partner in crime.
Yeah, because oftentimes the expert's done it more times than the homeowner or the home seller, because this may be once in their life or maybe the 5th time in their entire life, where hopefully that professional is 10x that over their business career. So,
absolutely. Anything else you want to add?
No, this has been great. I really like that we talked a little bit about the different generations. At first I was like, it's hard to identify, but it's important to note that everybody's different. Everybody's at a different stage in their life, a stage in the game, and has different goals and different priorities. So we really need to focus on that too. Yeah.
And, like everything, everybody has their unique story. Obviously, this is just, a trends report. But
fun to break down the different stories. And wait, I got so much more.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I hope that I can hear more of your stories going forward in the future.
Sounds like a plan. We'll do one on storytelling.
Perfect. Thanks, Chelsea.
Thank you.